and welcome back to Meet the Authors. So glad you could join us for this segment. I'm delighted to have with me today a upcoming author, Katrina Byrd. Hello, Katrina.
Hi, how are you?
I am great. Welcome to the show.
I'm glad to be here.
I'm so glad you are. And so Katrina is visiting us from Jackson. You're from Jackson now, right?
Yes,
Jackson.
Jackson,
yeah. And you were telling me that you've done a lot of writing. You don't have a book, but you've had 2 plays produced over at the Bay St. Louis Theater, and part of the what program is that? The
at the
Tennessee Williams.
The Tennessee Williams Festival. They have it every year, and so about 2 years ago, they decided to add a portion of it titled Mississippi Writes Original. And they select plays from a number of playwrights. I have no idea how many. And then they selected, the first year they selected 8 plays. Okay. And mine was one of the 8, nice. And the title of that one was Hooked. This year they selected 5 plays. And the thing that was different this year is that the plays ran like a regular play would run. So they ran for 2 weekends, and I wasn't able to see every show, but I did make it to the opening night.
That's great.
So.
That's great. It was so much fun to get your plays out there. And you were working also on a thesis, you told me. You're getting your Master's in Fine Arts at the W, right?
Yes.
and tell us about that. Tell us about your book. Put up the title there on our screen for us. Saving Grace.
The title of it is Saving Grace, yes. It starts with when a nun gets pregnant as a result of a rape.
Oh, how awful.
Yes, and she finds that she has a difficult time. The church abandons her because she can't be pregnant and be a nun. So it's kind of exploring when you're raped, when you're pregnant as a result of a rape, what happens when your work and your faith is all tied up in this as well. A lot of people have opinions on what to do, which is fine, which is, you can give the baby up for an adoption or whatever, but when your work and your faith and your housing and everything is tied up, then what happens? So this book kind of explores that. It also explores the role of the media in our private lives. And it explores the good woman, supposedly, and the bad woman, because Sister Mary Grace's sister runs the town's brothel.
She runs the town brothel. Wow, those are 2 impressive characters. A nun and her sister is a prostitute. That's impressive.
Yes, and also her sister is visually impaired. A lot of my characters in my, especially in my fiction, are visually impaired because I'm visually impaired. I was born with congenital cataracts. Oh. And so I lived life with wandering eyes and not being able to see, and I wore thick glasses for a number of years. But after a number of surgeries, I've had a lot of corrective surgery, my vision is better. And so I think it's important to let others know through my fiction writing and my nonfiction writing and just through my life in general that you can be a person, a healthy person who lives and enjoys life no matter what your situation.
That is so important, and to get the sense of developing those characters. Everybody has faults. Everybody has weaknesses and physical and mental problems, and makes your fiction come alive, and particularly when you identify it from your own issues like that. I think that's marvelous. I'm eager to see that book, and I'm sure it's going to be a great success. So you're from Jackson, and you grew up there?
Yes, I grew up in Jackson.
And you're not married, you told me, no children.
No kids.
And your whole life is evolved around writing. You don't have another job, and it's so great to be able to devote your life to your passion that way. Now you told me you recently went to Florida, and tell me about that experience. What was that about?
Yeah, I went to Tampa, Florida, to the Association of Writing and Writers program. And I actually got to work the convention. It's a huge convention with about 12,000 attendees. And I was there covering the convention for Jane Friedman's blog. And Jane Friedman is the co-host of the co-founder of the Hot Sheet, and she's a columnist at the Writer's Digest. And it was a great pleasure to work with her. I had 7 articles published during a 3-day period that were published on her blog.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's quite an accomplishment. And so you're doing the blogging and you effectively blogging and covering covering these conventions. What do you see for your future?
I see more of that. I enjoyed that time in Florida doing the blogging, and it was also wonderful to be paid for it. To have,
It's always good to get paid for your writing.
There's that connotation that social media is a free thing and you don't get paid for it.
Yeah.
So I see more of that. I also have a Facebook page where I display my various boas.
Yeah, tell me about this boa. You look really attractive. I love this black outfit with the red accents and all that. It's very impressive. But I've known you for many years. You've been a writer. I mean, we've been communicating as when I was a president of the writers group for many years, and you always end all your writings with, "I flounced my boa at you." And you were telling me that's sort of an idea to make people realize to seek the happiness in life. So tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, the first time I ever touched a feather boa was in 2009 when I was in a play titled Hats. And the play was about the Red Hat Society, women who reach 50 and learn to celebrate their lives and tell their stories. And I played a 64-year-old woman named Duchess, and I sang and wore all red and had a red boa. And from that time on, I learned to celebrate my life. I've always been shy about it in some ways. You know, in school I was teased, and my point of view is a little different from everybody else's sometimes. And so after doing that play, I adopted the feather boa, and I have them in every color. And I use them to celebrate who I am, because, you know, this is who I am, and I haven't changed in this many years, and I don't see many more changes coming. And so I just learned to celebrate, and I like to use the boa to also help others celebrate.
How do you use the boa to help others celebrate?
Oh, I have worn them to funerals, to very sad places, and when, especially when one of my fans from my Facebook page dies and I show up in the boa, it really seems to inspire the family. I wear it to events, you know, just different performances or whatever. If fans invite me somewhere, I'll come dressed as the boa flouncer just to show them support, because on the page I support myself as well as other artists.
It's really wonderful to have you as a guest on our show.
Well,
you're full of excitement, you're full of life, and it's really great to be someone who really is devoting their whole life to writing and going to try to make a career of it. I've always said, people ask me, should they try that? And I always say, well, perhaps you're better off getting a real job too. But it's good to have you, Katrina. Thanks for coming by to our show.
Thank you for having me.
Go to my website, doctorsdreams.com. You can pick up any of my books or any of our guests' books. All the guests have been invited to put their books on my website. You can get them directly from there.